over 2 decades, Fernando Alonso has wowed fans with his amazing talent that allowed him to win 2 world championships and 32 Grand Prix wins as of the recording of this video. Whether it was top tier equipment or bottom of the barrel cars, Fernando always found a way to extract the most from his cars, no matter what track or what conditions. His 2006 season, the year he won his 2nd world championship, was a year where Alonso's best performances came to light as he battled 7-time world champion Michael Schumacher for the championship. Today's video takes us to a race that season, where Fernando started deep in the field in tricky conditions to pull off what people think is one of the best drives of his career. Let's find out if it really is. My name is Intern, I talk wheel, and was this Fernando Alonso's greatest drive? Second practice was underway for the 2006 Hungarian Grand Prix, and our protagonist, Fernando Alonso, was the championship leader entering the weekend. The pressure was on as his title rival had just taken the win and came within 11 points of his lead. But this wasn't just any title rival. It was a man that knew a thing or two about winning championships. We're talking about Michael Schumacher. The 7-time champion recently found his stride, winning the last 3 Grand Prix leading up to this weekend. An 11-point gap atop the standings meant that Alonso would leave Hungary with the points lead no matter what. However, if Schumacher were to gain as few as 2 points on him this weekend, he would not be blessed with the same cushion going into the next round in Turkey. As Alonso pushed his car during practice, he noticed another car ahead of him, the Red Bull of Robert Doornbos. Having Red Bulls ahead of him may be a normality for him today, but back in 2006 it was nothing normal. Alonso became upset with the Red Bull being ahead of him as he felt as though Doornbos had impeded his lap. While expressing his displeasure, the FIA deemed Alonso to have brake tested the Red Bull driver and awarded him a qualifying penalty as a result. Things went from bad to worse for Alonso as he got bagged again for overtaking under yellow flags in the exact same session. What appeared to be a big opportunity for his title rival Schumacher ended up being the same fate, as Michael would also receive a penalty as he overtook 2 cars under a red flag period. Schumacher's penalty relegated him to 11th, while Alonso's would relegate him to 15th on the grid. As if starting deep in the field wasn't hard enough, rain came at the start, making things trickier for not just Alonso, but the entire grid. With a title lead that was getting slimmer and slimmer as weeks went by, Fernando could not afford to let anything mess with his points lead. As the lights went out, Fernando reminded the entire world of his caliber as a racing driver. Using his skills and his fresh Michelins, he picked off drivers in front of him one by one in the wet, and by the end of lap 1, Fernando from 15th on the grid was in P6. But he didn't stop there. After getting by his teammate for 5th, he set his sights on Michael Schumacher, who himself made a great start from 11th. Using the outside line, Alonso blew past his title rival with ease. With 11 spots made in the first 4 laps, Fernando was on a roll. Meanwhile, Schumacher's day was going from bad to worse, as he lost a part of his front wing while racing Giancarlo Fisichella. Alonso would eventually inherit the lead as drivers ahead of him pit. Before Fernando could pit, however, a safety car came out after Kimi Raikkonen hit the Toro Rosso of Vitantonio Liuzzi while trying to lap him. Thanks to the neutralized field, Alonso pit from the lead and maintained it coming out of the pit lane. As Alonso led off the restart, more misfortune befell Schumacher as he spun at turn 2. Meanwhile, Alonso in just a few laps had opened up a 6-second gap to 2nd place Jenson Button. That gap would begin to be closed as the laps went by, as Button would begin to gain more time on Alonso. With 24 laps to go, Jenson came in for inters, leaving Alonso out front. Button would set the fastest lap of the race a few laps after stopping. The time came for Alonso to respond with what might have been his final stop of the day. He had done everything right up until this point. Mastered the start, laid waste to his title rival, captured and maintained the lead. He did it all. At this rate, Alonso would be setting himself up for a massive extension of his title lead as Schumacher continued to rally back from his earlier errors. Alonso entered the pits on lap 51. The crew changed his tires and he exited. But as his car entered turn 1, it was evident something was wrong as he struggled to make the turn. Those watching assumed the tires were just cold and needed more temperature, but as he entered turn 2, it happened. Alonso's wheel nut had not been put on properly by the crew, and as he entered turn 2, it came off his tire, causing him to lose all control of the car and slam into the outside barrier, bringing his mighty drive to an abrupt and unexpected end. Jenson Button would go on to score his first ever victory in Formula 1, meanwhile Schumacher fell from P2 to retiring 2 laps from the finish due to suspension damage he suffered after contact with another driver. Schumacher's P8 finish meant that despite Alonso's crash from the lead, he only lost 1 point to his title rival. But in turn, how could you choose a race like this? I mean, he didn't even win. But that's fine. This video wasn't titled "Was this Alonso's best win?" I'm here to talk about performances, and if we're to analyze all of Fernando's drives in his career, from the 2001 Australian Grand Prix to now, surely a drive like this is in contention for his best ever, no? 15th on the grid in wet conditions to P6 in lap 1 is something else. The bold overtake on Michael Schumacher. Alonso shined as his main competitor faltered, and was on for what might have been the most impressive win of his career up to that point, and maybe the most impressive win of his entire career, period. And though it was taken from him by reasons out of his control, the strength of the drive is what really matters most. So now I throw the question to you. Was the 2006 Hungarian Grand Prix Alonso's greatest drive? Let's discuss in the comments, and I know there's loads to choose from. My name is Intern, I talk wheel, and thanks for watching.